In this video, I'd like to show you how to make a paper dream catcher, feathers and all. Welcome to Crafted Sweetly. I'm Diana. Thanks so much for being here. In this video, I'll show you how to make this paper dream catcher, including the paper feathers. For this part of the design, I did get it off Creative Fabrica, which has an unbelievable amount of images. Highly recommend it. I just love that I can pretty much search for anything and use it from there. And then I'll show you how to make these cool paper feathers that are great for all kinds of projects. So let's get right into it. For this project, I used a pattern that I got off Creative Fabrica, and I do have a link for this below if you're interested in doing the same exact one, but they have lots of other options as well. I imported the file into Cricut Design Space, and then I cut it out. It is already layered. It's this one, which you can probably see the design. It might be easier if I take this off. You can see some of these. Okay, so I have this is one layer. Then my next layer is this, which looks similar, but it's actually layered. The holes are in different places. Once I have this completed here, I will glue these pieces together, and for that I am using art glitter glue. Okay, so once I have this, now the next step for this is adding eyelets right here. And for that I am using a Crop-A-Dile. It's a We Are Memory Keepers hole puncher, so it's got two different size holes you can make with it, and then I'll be using the eyelets for that. So I'll make just the smallest hole for here and the other side. And that's where the string will eventually go. I guess I'll do silver, and then when I do the feathers, I'm gonna incorporate some silver into that. And then for this, it just gets placed on, it has a little stem here that goes right into the eyelet, and then just press on it, and it squeezes it on the other side, just like that. At the bottom, technically you could tie this in right where the holes are, but I think I will, just to kind of tie in with this theme here, I'm going to make holes at the bottom where the feathers will be attached. So now I've got this prepped for where the feathers will go and where the string will go for attaching. Now I'll set this aside and show you how to make the feathers. For the feathers, I'm using Tyvek paper, and this is a paper that doesn't tear. And I folded it in half because I'm gonna cut 5 feathers, so I figured might as well cut 2 at a time, here, here, and then I'll do a center one. The next step for this is decide which direction the feather goes, and this is the wider side, so I'm gonna work my angle of the feather this way instead of this way, because I want this to be the tip of the feather. Now cutting it, I hold my finger right underneath it to help guide the scissors, and I cut as thin as possible. So now you could do this in white, you could paint it beforehand or after. I'll do a couple of white ones and then I'll show you the other ones painted. So I'll do, on this one, I'll do 2 white and then 3 will be painted. Okay, and then once you've cut it, this is what this should look like. It's fairly flimsy right now. I will add floral wire to the back of it to give it a little more strength, and that way I can also shape it whatever direction I want. But this looks pretty realistic if you're looking at the feather. Now I will, like I said, I will leave this one white, but I will color the other ones to show you the process for that. Now I'm gonna work with these, which I was planning on doing in pink and silver. And for this I'm using a couple different inks. For this it doesn't really matter. I have some T-Rex inks, and then you can use the Tim Holtz inks, and then I'm also using some silver. And I'm working on a glass mat just so I can clean it off easily. And I'm just gonna take the brush, and you can do whatever you want with coloring this. And as you can see, this, I didn't saturate it enough on this side, so I'm gonna go to this side, when you could add more ink from the beginning and just make sure that it bleeds all the way through. Okay, and I like this white, some of the white to still be showing through, so I'm not gonna completely saturate it. As I mentioned, I wanted to add a little bit of silver, and this I want to make sure that this is semi-dry, so meaning I have the wisps to it, and I'm gonna go in the direction of the way I'm gonna end up cutting, and I'm just touching it very lightly on here instead of coloring over. Okay, and that's about all the ink I want to add to this. And now I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the other feathers, very finely cut it. Once all these are cut this way, then I do want to attach floral wire to the back. Right now they're a little flimsy and kind of bend over any which way. So I'm using 26 gauge wire, floral wire for this, and I'm gonna put it on the back side of this. Now depending on your project, you may want this wire to extend past the feather if you're attaching it to something, but I'm going to attach eyelets right at the top so that I can have it hanging in the dream catcher. So I only want this wire to be in the feather but not coming all the way up here, because then I won't be able to do the eyelet. So I will take art glitter glue again for this part. I'm gonna press it down to make sure that it's attached in there. Okay, so I've covered this part here, and then I'm just gonna let it dry, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the other wire, with the other feathers. So I let the feathers dry until you can actually see this, the floral wire again, because the glue dried clear, so you can see this part of it. And I'm going to color this because I don't want to see that wire. So I'm just gonna use a little more alcohol ink to color this portion. What I want to do is add an eyelet right at the top, because this is going to be attached with the string to the dream catcher. And if I try and use this, because Tyvek paper is so flexible, it's hard to cut with this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put just a piece of cardstock underneath to give it support. So we'll do it this way. That way I can create a hole in here without wrinkling it. You can see it a little better here. So I'll do that with all of these. I do have a scrap piece of Tyvek paper, and if I try and cut it here, it does cut it, but it wrinkles it in the process just because this is so flexible. So just some added cardstock will give it a little more support behind. Then once I have the holes in all of them, I'm going to use the same eyelets that I used on the dream catcher. And now with all of these, I'm going to tie just some string that I have that has some silver thread through it. And I'm gonna tie all of these. Now the one other thing that I do with the feathers, and you can wait until you put it on the dream catcher. What's nice with this art glitter glue is that it's still flexible, so I can shape this whichever way I want. As you can see, you know, you can kind of do this with it if you want. Depends on what you're trying to achieve for your look. For the dream catcher, they'll mainly be flat, but you can shape it a little bit. Now these are all tied, and then I'm gonna bring this back, and you can decide how you want this attached. Once you have all your feathers tied, then we need to tie them to this part. And usually I'll start off with the center part of it because that's gonna dictate the rest of them. Now you could add to the string additional beads. Really, you can do whatever you want on going down here if you'd like. I'm just gonna leave it plain because I just wanted to show you the process for it. But you can embellish this as much or as little as you want. Now we also do need to tie something here so that you can actually hang this. I think what I'm gonna do for this one is add some jewels, and I have this big box of fake rhinestones that I'm just gonna add on here. So it's pretty cool. This is all done out of paper except for obviously the embellishments on it, which are not totally necessary, but it does make it a little prettier with it on. If you end up making this or something similar, I would love to see it you posted in my Facebook group. If you have any questions, please comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next project.